Howdy, welcome to another episode from DRG. I'm your host Nathan. On today's episode we're going to be installing the camshaft. In the last episode I installed the crankshaft really quick, did plastigage on basically main number 2 and main number 3, and kind of walked you through the plastigage and checked out the specs. The specs turned out within the limits, so we're good there. So on the camshaft, I went ahead, we're going to be walking or installing the cams carefully through the front of the block, and there's really soft cam bearings in here that you got to be careful not to nick. Well, with the crank out, I can hand walk it through as we walk it toward the back for full installation. I'm also able to pre-lube all of the camshaft bearings. So I went ahead and I went ahead and lubed with assembly lube all the camshaft bearings basically on the top side of the block because the block's currently upside down. This is a cam from Oregon Cam Grinders out of Vancouver, Washington. I sent them in my core. They basically reground it to a spec that they recommended. The cam number or grind number is 1410. I think they have a very similar cam grind for the FE series of engines as well. So it's kind of just a mild RV cam. I don't have the specs in front of me. They were in the box with the sheet, but I took the sheet inside the house. There was more packaging material in here to help protect the cam during shipping, and I took it out, opened it up, and then I wiped down all the bearing surfaces because they had like a Cosmoline on them to keep them from flash rusting while during shipping and transit and everything. So I'm going to try to set you guys on the tripod. It'll probably be a side angle from here. I don't think I'm going to be able to get you down to really see where I need to, where you can see down in as I'm doing it. Maybe I'll kind of walk you through the starting procedure of it, get the cam into like the third journal so it's supported by the bearings, and then bring you over so you can look inside. So we'll hold on tight while I get you set up on the tripod. This is just a small handheld tripod set up on my workbench. That doesn't look too bad. You're not really close in. I could try to bring the engine closer. Let's try that. So this is where you start getting kind of messy. Honing cylinders and wiping them clean after you're done is also kind of messy. You get the honing shavings on and stones and stuff, powder on your hands when you're in there wiping them clean. You could use a toilet bowl brush as a cleaner as well. That might actually not be half bad. But this is where you're going to start getting assembly lube all over yourself. First piece of advice is don't go slather the whole entire camshaft in assembly lube, because you got to handle this end of it. They make a cool handle that you can screw in here. I think the cheapest one nowadays is like 30 bucks. It used to be a lot more expensive. I'm a cheap bastard, so therefore I just use a long bolt that threads in here, and 6-inch, 7-inch bolt, and use that. When I'm working on an engine, I can't actually put my hands inside. So what I recommend doing, and by all means this is not the expert advice, but it kind of makes sense, at least in my head, is you lather up the first couple. This is why I'm wearing a latex glove on my one hand. So So you throw your grease on, get it started, lightly coat the whole thing. I like to put some on the back of it because there's a freeze plug, expansion plug on the back side. It shouldn't be rubbing up against it, but I have seen an FE motor where I took apart where, well, in all honesty, they actually installed the plug backwards. But it had a nice groove mark in it from where the camshaft was riding against the freeze plug. I corrected that problem when I rebuilt the engine. That engine was actually rebuilt. On that FE was rebuilt. I don't know who rebuilt it. It was assembled by the makers of ultra copper, because every single gasket had ultra copper, including the head gaskets on both sides. Don't do that, by the way. If you want to put hot copper head gasket or copper on your head gaskets, they make a spray. And on the composite head gaskets, not really necessary. The copper head gasket spray was for like the old flatheads where they were a steel shim or a copper shim head gasket, the metal shim head gasket. But whoever assembled that motor thought they every gasket needed ultra copper RTV on both sides of it, and needless to say, it didn't seal very well. And it also had wiped out camshafts. So once we got the first couple started and coated, then you carefully feed the camshaft into the block. And if you're able to kind of see me on the camera, it's not the best, I apologize. We can go ahead and get rid of that box. I'm able to stick my hand in here, hold the one end of the camshaft, while I'm able to walk, or basically I'm guiding it in. But I did the first two bearing surfaces, and then I did a total of 6 lobes. Got the cam into the first 2 bearing surfaces. And then you stop. Not sure I like this new assembly lube. It's a little runnier compared to the old stuff. I can't say I've seen the brand I normally do. I've never used the Lubriplate 105 or the white paste. I've never used that for assembling engines. I've always used this black moly stuff. Some people swear by it. Some people hate it. I don't really have a preference. Well, I do, because every engine I've assembled has had this in it. It seems to work for me, so therefore I'm going to continue to use it. Alright. Into the next go around. And you slather the cam and the lobes with assembly oil, assembly lube, assembly grease. This is less like a grease and Well, it's either a really thin grease or a really thick oil. Get you in one, and then we'll bring you in here in a second. Guess I could have brought you in there, but I didn't. And then don't forget to put some lube on the distributor drive gear as well. And all right, let me wipe my hands off, or at least try to. And I'll bring you in. Wow. All right. So you'll see I lube every lobe, including the distributor gear. I lube, this is your last bearing surface. I even lube the face, and then where the cam sprocket for the timing chain goes. We'll get to that here shortly. But as you can see, cam's in. And basically all I'm doing is I'm able to get my hand down here, hold on to the one end of it, and then use my finger and hold it and support it, and kind of just guide it all the way in through each one of these. And now I'm getting to the point where the back one has the bearing cap on, or the freeze plug on the back right here, so I can't get my hand back here to guide it, but I can guide it to the point where I get it started. So I'll put you back on the tripod here, and I'll walk you in on the last cam set. As you spin around the garage as I fumble, because I have greasy hands now. Yeah. So I'm gonna grab the front of the cam, grab the rear of the cam, kind of pull it forward a little bit, add more assembly lube to the front or the rear of the cam, the lobe that rides the There we go. So I don't have it fully seated because I want to go in and touch up some of the bearing surfaces. And good to go for the ride as I fumble everything, putting the cap back on. So basically what I'm doing is I want to go back and touch up the bearing, or basically where the camshaft rides the cam bearings. Put a little bit of extra grease on them, because this one I greased first has gone through 4 different chambers, and every time it goes through a bearing, the grease gets wiped off of it. So there we go, it's in. Go ahead and rotate it, and see, there's a couple lobes that need grease. I went ahead and put the cam on, or the cap on the lube too early. So there, and okay there. So let's go ahead and slather that with some grease. Okay, and we'll rotate and motate. Go. Everything looks nice and coated. One ooey gooey mess. At least it doesn't stink like gear oil. So that's where I'm going to turn it off for the night. I want to go through and wipe down the, it's actually just assembly lube. So we'll go ahead and throw some assembly lube on the mains, and I'd say drop the crankshaft in, but I still need to put the top of the half of the rear main seal in. So maybe I got ahead of myself. Technically I can install the rear main with the crankshaft in there. You just gotta rotate it in. But why work harder when you could just go ahead and throw it in now? And this is a simple 2-piece main compared to the 6-piece main of like the Ford FE. So the Ford FE has an upper half, a lower half, 2 side rails, and then 2 side rail pins. Talk about making it difficult. But the FE is also fully skirted, where the side of the block and the top of the mains are the same level, and 1 full oil pan rail, and probably superior in strength, but we're going to go 460 because, well, it's too late to go back now. Trying to get the tripod kicked out. I have to severely clean my camera here. Sorry for all the boggling. Took my glove off so I could get my hand, use a clean hand on the camera. We'll dig through my gasket set here. Yeah, I need some workspace. Got some cool license plates for my headliner and my 66 F100. Yep, making a headliner license plate. My buddy Chris Hatton got me those. And that's the air cleaner I'm going to throw on this 460. Now if I can only find some cool valve covers that match that aren't an arm and a leg. Alright, we have a couple intake manifold gaskets. Not exactly sure what that is. That looks like a fuel filler neck to me, and I don't know where you'd put that would go on a 460. And some exhaust manifold gaskets. Rubber china walls for your intake manifold gasket. Oil pan rails, or not the rails. Front of the oil pan, rear of the oil pan. Those would be the rails for the oil pan. Cork, not my favorite material, but as long as you don't go gorilla ape shit, and it should work just fine. Don't over torque them. Front timing cover seal. I have to look at the box, see what this is. That's just weird. Premium valve steel stem seals. I don't know if I'd call the old school rubber umbrella ones premium, and there's better versions now, but these don't require any machining, so those are going to be installed in the heads. You'll get to see me struggle with that if you just continue to follow me. And we got oil pump stuff in here, distributor, drain plan, fuel pump. Kind of looks like a thermostat housing, but maybe kind of small. Not sure what the two O-rings would be. Rubber valve cover gaskets. So I'm going to guess the O-rings are for an EFI, because that's a throttle body gasket. I'm going to guess that's water pump to plate gasket, or no, probably water pump to block. Timing cover. No, because that's the timing cover. No, timing cover to block, water pump to timing cover. And here's my fancy dancy rear seal. So I went through all of that, showed you what's all in this thing, just to get this. Ow. Hold on, we're not done. And 2 head gaskets. So we'll go ahead and throw the head gaskets back in the box. And we'll put all that stuff away later off camera, because I'm sure you don't want to see me struggle doing that one-handed. So there's a fancy little Pro Fit rear main steel installation tips and directions on the rear. That those of you who have done this before, you just disregard the next quick summary of what it says. Basically, the first one is follow these procedures the following procedures must be followed to avoid leakage. Okay. Remove burrs from the inside diameter of the block and cap seal edge. Note, just remove the burr. Do not put a chamfer on this edge. Use a file stone or a crocus cloth. Now, when I pulled out those cloth rope seals, the first thing I went and did was to inspect the groove for a metal spike. So back in the olden days, I guess we'll call it that, whatever, on vehicles where they had where they used a rope seal, not necessarily on the block but on the cap, then right in the middle would be like a set screw. On the cap you could unscrew the set screw, pull the screw out, and that set screw helps hold the seal and keep the rope from spinning. So when I saw rope seal in this, the first thing I did after I got it out was to inspect that cap, make sure there was no, for lack of a better term, spike in it. So you remove the burrs. Well, I don't see any burrs. Install seal halves. The large sealing lip must be positioned towards the front of the engine. Make sure the parting lines of the seals are offset in relation to the block main cap parting line by 3/8 of an inch. This will reduce the chances of leakage by ensuring proper lip alignment and preventing shaving of the backside sealing bead. For your convenience, a plastic insulation aid or shoehorn is provided to prevent damage to the backside bead. And then apply RTV to the outer sealing edges of the cap recesses in the block. Lubricate the surface of the seal lips and crankshaft by applying a thin coat of motor oil or grease. The engine will not be started within. If the engine will not be started within several days, grease is recommended. So guess what? We're going to use assembly lube. So I'm going to set you down. Bleep, bloop. Maybe we'll move you a little bit closer. Bleep, bleep. Here's the little shoehorn. Not exactly sure how that helps. And if you look, there's a huge taper on the seal, and then the back side's pretty much flat straight up and down. You obviously want to get them both the same direction, because one backwards, one forwards. That would be an interesting to see what would happen, to say the least. Can't say I've ever done that. And it sounded like, according to the destructions, holy crap, I'm a male who's reading destructions, is the large sealing lip must be positioned towards the front of the engine. So when they say they large, do they want the square edge facing that? Or do they want it facing that? Not very clear instructions, are there? Would have been nice if they put a picture on there. And then I roll it in. Is basically what I do. And then where's my little shoehorn? I actually use the shoehorn as my guide. You want part of it to stick out above, and part of the next one to be down in here. That way you have the gap, or the two halves are supported by the block and the main cap. So I'm almost there. And there we go. So I'm going to call that 3/8. And then I got to go get the main cap, lubricate, and stick this half in the main cap. So I'll be right back. Hit it with some brake cleaner and a brass brush really quick. Wanted to clean out the groove. So when I was talking about the rope seal that was in here, a lot of times on the older, like I know in 63 engines and whatnot, 64, 65, where they rope seal, had a little screw that would be down in this groove that would basically kind of look like the head of a nail, and went through here on the outside into there, and that would, you put the rope seal in, and they would screw down the screw in here, set screw, and the spike of the head of the screw would pierce the rope and keep the rope from sliding around. So now when I go to bolt this on, I need this side over here to stick out 3/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to kind of slide it through. In fact, we'll turn it around, go this way. Since this side's going to stick out anyways, why hammer it all the way, or have to tap it all the way around? Get my little gauge out. Nope, not quite. Oops, went too far. I need to clean this still. And basically, you guide the two halves together. guess what I did, guys? I went ahead and stuck that top half in backwards. Here I am making fun of somebody else for doing it, and then I go ahead and do it. So, back out it comes. I could edit this out, but hey, we all make mistakes. I make them too. Heck, according to my wife, that's all I ever make is mistakes. So, we'll pull that out, flip that around. Went too far. Oops. Just right. So you bring that down, bring that down. See, and then usually what you do is you'll throw some RTV silicone where the top cap and the block meet, basically right behind the edges here where the two seals halves were there. Now, the package didn't say anything about putting silicone where the two halves meet, and sometimes I will actually put a daub or two of silicone, or just a daub of silicone on the end, and then bolt the two halves together. But basically all I did was put the cap on finger tight and then squinch it down to make sure my two sides were equal and that everything meet and no damage was caused to the seal. I now have the taper the correct direction both ways, and could basically throw the crankshaft in, which I'll probably do. Just gotta take this off. I need to wash these caps, so maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll wash these, take these off, throw them in the parts washer, which is back there in the corner. I have like the timing cover for this block, the valve covers for this block, the oil pickup tube is for this block is in here. 4x4 oil pan pickup. So I'll go wash these real quick, let them soak. So I guess this is where I'll end it for now. Thank you for watching. Please click like, subscribe, share, and if you like what I'm doing, follow along, leave some comments, and I'll read every comment. I may be a little slow and not get, because I don't always get notifications that there's comments on it, but I do read every comment and I will answer. So if you have any questions, concerns, tell me I'm an idiot and I'm doing it wrong, let me know. As I said, thanks for watching.